COVID-19 misinformation has been going viral on social media.
Pandemic conspiracy theory now floating about which alleges that coronavirus
The COVID-19 has created the kind of perfect storm. Conspiracy theories are calling on social media companies to do more to stop the disinformation from spreading.
we're now calling an infodemic.
Hi everybody! Do you know what is COVID? I think everybody know what is COVID, right? But now, we want to explain how the COVID goes in the other countries. Let me know if we have different opinion about what we share, so we can discuss it together in the Q&A session. So, before we start, let me introduce the member of this group. Here we are, Maria, Gracia, Wisnu, and Darryl. Enjoy the presentation!
Let's take a look at the global pandemic numbers now. There are more than 1.7 million cases of COVID-19 around the world. The U.S. is reporting more than 20,000 deaths, surpassing Italy as the country with the most fatalities. Today alone, the U.S. recorded more than 1,700 deaths. And in each...
The pandemic is accelerating. More than 150,000 new cases of COVID-19 were reported to WHO yesterday, the most in a single day so far. Almost half of those cases were reported from the Americas, with large numbers also being reported from South Asia and the Middle East.
COVID-19 or coronavirus is a new strain of coronavirus. The disease caused by the novel coronavirus first identified in Wuhan, China, has been named coronavirus disease 2019. CO stands for corona, V for virus, and D for disease. Formerly, this disease was referred to as 2019 novel coronavirus or 2019 nCoV. The COVID-19 virus is a new virus linked to the same family of viruses as severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, and some types of common cold. The number of COVID cases worldwide has now reached 7,193,476 cases, with the estimated death rate of 408,000 cases, and the country with the highest cases is America. From the graphic, we can see that America reached up 2,026,493 cases with a mortality rate of 130,050 cases, and those who managed to recover touched 7,193,476. And the lowest country is Singapore, which is around 870 cases COVID-19. Coronaviruses belong to the Coronaviridae family in the Nidovirales order. Corona represents crown-like spikes on the outer surface of the virus. It was named as a coronavirus. Coronaviruses are minute in size and contain a single-stranded RNA as a nucleic material, size ranging from 26 to 32 in length. The subgroup of coronaviruses family are alpha, beta, gamma, and delta coronavirus. The severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, H5N1 influenza A, H1N1 2009, and Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus cause acute lung injury and acute respiratory distress syndrome, which leads to pulmonary failures and result in fatality. These viruses were thought to infect only animals until the world witnessed a severe acute respiratory syndrome outbreak caused by SARS-CoV-2 in Guangdong, China. Only a decade later, another pathogenic coronavirus known as Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus caused an endemic in Middle Eastern countries.
Next, we will discuss about government policies in various countries. First, there is United States. They have zero tolerance with imposed restriction on territory without tolerance. Secondly, there is China, which applies curfew using QR code that is connected with people's phone. And then there's geolocation that tracks a person whereabouts and reminds them to stop doing activities at the specified time. Third, there's Singapore that conducts COVID tests as many as possible, especially for people with pneumonia. And then there's Africa. They have a lockdown. But this is a problem considering that Africa is a country with low economies and many slum areas.
How the global impact of this pandemic? The global impact of this pandemic has two sides. The first one is positive one and also the negative one. The first one of the positive impact is entire lifestyle change to practice better hygiene. Okay, as we know, people are now aware of how important it is to keep yourself clean. These recent times have made us all aware of how to do that more hygienically. For example, from shaking hands to namaste, we all have had a lifestyle change for the good. We are going to remember to cover your mouth when we cough, to sanitize your hand after touching anything else because we know what can happen if we don't. The second one is help to build genuine relationship and innovation to stay connected and help each other. We all have been so busy living the life, and of course, many of us have lost those real, genuine moments we have with our loved one. Now, the COVID-19 situation has positively impacted the way you emote and maintain relationship. You get to spend your time with your family and plan your work better. As life slows down, we have found ways to stay connected with people, even if it's virtually. Reconnect with your loved one and retrospect. The third one is education becomes digitized and affordable. The pandemic has posed a threat to the whole education system. Schools, universities, and colleges have been shut down. Online classes have become the new norm for education institutions. Moreover, parents will get first-hand knowledge about how classes are taught and can directly understand how their child perceives concepts. And the online education system grows. We can expect an increase in the reach and accessibility of education within every section of the society. Okay, the last but not least, reduce pollution. Most pollution comes from road transport and power plants, but because of the lockdown, the pollution was greatly reduced, and now, because we all had activities inside the house and we didn't use vehicles, we can see the pollution get better as we know before Jakarta doing the normal, right? And the negative impact of this pandemic are the impact of this pandemic affect not only one aspect but three aspects at once. They are economic, political, and also social. So, there are several global economic impact of this pandemic. The call for work from home from the government has also more or less had an impact on the economic downturn. Many companies have to postpone their big activities and raise their employees. Even though they continue to work at home, the effectiveness and productivity generated will still be different if they work in an office, right? And the global impact of this pandemic are: the global stock sector was hit. Major shift the stock market where company shares are traded can affect investment in certain types of pension or individual saving accounts. Second one, flight bookings to all regions of the world have fallen sharply. Many airlines have cut their flight schedules, so workers also postpone business trips until indefinite times. And tourists also cancel their vacation plan. And restaurant booking in several countries have declined sharply.
The global political impact of this pandemic is before this pandemic, politics of each country is more focused on economy, military action, and war. But now more focused on research and health improvement. For example, many countries have searched for vaccine of coronavirus.
So now we are going to discuss about the social impacts that COVID-19 pandemic has on the global world. Now, according to the United Nations, the COVID-19 outbreak is much more than just a health crisis. It is a human, economic, and social crisis, one that is killing people, spreading human suffering, and upending people's lives. The coronavirus disease, which has been characterized as a pandemic by the WHO, is attacking societies at their core. The COVID-19 outbreak affects all segments of the population and is particularly detrimental to members of those social groups in the most vulnerable situations. For example, our homeless people, because they may be unable to safely shelter in place, are highly exposed to the danger of the virus. People without access to running water, refugees, migrants, or displaced persons also stand to suffer disproportionately both from the pandemic and its aftermath, whether due to limited movement, fewer employment opportunities, increased xenophobia, and etc. Other than that, the COVID-19 also has an effect on the educational system worldwide. This pandemic has affected educational systems worldwide, leading to the widespread closures of schools and universities. According to the data released by UNESCO on March 25th, schools and universities closures due to COVID-19 were implemented nationwide in about 165 countries. Including localized closures, this affects over 1.5 million students worldwide, accounting about 87% of enrolled learners. Other than educational, there's also a religious impact. This pandemic has impacted religion in various ways, including the cancellation of worship services of various faiths, the closure of Sunday schools. Now we are going to discuss at which country our group thinks is best handling the COVID-19 situation, and it is Singapore that has about 38,965 cases but only has 25 deaths. Now Singapore was among the first countries that's hailed as a winner for its pandemic response, a well-deserved reputation on the back of its aggressive approach to contact tracing, which included scanning people's IDs at the supermarket and widespread testing. In retrospect, Singapore was well positioned to outperform others in its pandemic response given its previous lessons on the SARS epidemic. Its small size, which is only about 5.7 million people, and centralized nanny-state approach not just the healthcare crisis but other facets of policy as well. The government built temporary bed houses at breakneck speed to house COVID-19 patients, keeping the casualty rate low in about less than 0.1% of confirmed cases. Now, Singapore's response was tarnished with a secondary outbreak centered in overcrowded migrant housings, highlighting the awful living conditions with as many as 20 people sleeping in the same room endured by the city's hundreds of thousands of migrant workers. At one point, 88% of the country's cases were in the migrant housing areas that eluded the government's initial response, calling attention to the incredible inequality in Singaporean society. Still, the government's multiple sizable stimulus package totaling 20% of the country's GDP to keep its economy afloat is admirable, as well as the ability to build up deep financial reserves.
As with other respiratory infections like the flu or the common cold, public health measures are critical to slow the spread of illness. Public health measures are everyday preventive action that include staying home when sick, covering mouth and nose with flex elbow or tissue when coughing or sneezing, dispose of used tissue immediately, washing hands often with soap and water, and cleaning frequently touched surface and objects.